There are so many times that clients have decided to give the real estate to their children and then realized it was a big mistake, not only from a tax perspective, but because feelings change, whether it's from the child and their new spouse or between the child and the parent. And so anytime you're about to give your real estate away, the best thing to do is call a lawyer. Hello everyone, it's Michelle from Longevity Law. I am here to give a talk today about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. It's about real estate and how there are so many countless mistakes I see of my clients who own real estate but are holding it in the wrong name. And there's a lot of different ways that the name, the ownership on the title is wrong. And by the time they see me, sometimes there's not much that I can do at that point. One example, I can give you lots of more examples, but one example is where a lot of families come to me, they don't want to see a lawyer though earlier on, and by the time they see me it's a little late, but they didn't want to bother creating any legal documents, anything such as a living trust, and so they just wanted to give their real estate, which is the most valuable thing they own, to their children. And so they decided to add the names of their children on title, and years pass, and by the time they realize that something they did was a mistake earlier on, it's already late. Because anytime anyone adds a name on a real estate deed, that's easy enough. But getting it back will require the consent of the person who you gave it to. So in this one example, the mom and dad owned real estate, which was their house. And it's a relatively modest family where that was the biggest asset. And so what happens is that they have more children in the family, but they thought that, well, the other children don't need the money the way that these children that I'm going to give it to need it. So then already the first mistake is not sharing what they have equally to the children, because that's going to cause a lot of conflict and family just arguments and threats of litigation when they find out that what mom and dad had is not being shared equally. That causes new problems. But second to that, I mean, the problem is once you add the children's name on it, the problem is that once relationships don't go well, whether it's a divorce by one of the children who are on title, or just the siblings don't get along, or isn't paying the property taxes or doing maintenance and repairs, taking care of the parents have lost control by giving the real estate to the children. And so the most important thing for people who own real estate, if you are married, to continue to own the real estate in your name. Do not give it to the children while you are living. And there's at least two main reasons for that. The first is that you want to be able to get a tax benefit by holding it in your name. And the way that happens is because when people pass away, the government allows for a step up in cost basis. So if you bought a house which was, say, $100,000 and it's gone up to $2 million, then you don't have to pay a single dollar according to today's tax laws in capital gains. But that can only happen if you hold that home in your own name. Once you've given it to your children, you have foregone that tax benefit and are agreeing to pay capital gains tax. The second one is because you want to protect that money for yourself, first of all. Once you've given the real estate by adding other people's names, such as your children, then you have lost that control. If things go wrong, if feelings change, then suddenly you don't own that piece of real estate, which is a significant amount of money, and so it's too late to do anything. And what happens also is that once it's in that child's name, if they get a divorce, then there's a further risk that they have to share that real estate with a person they're going to be about to get divorced from. And even with family dynamics, even if more than one child owns it, who's going to pay the property tax? Who's going to pay for deferred maintenance? All of these are very real issues that occur when parents decide to take the law into their own hands. And when I do see them, when they do come to me, by that time, they are much too late. Either one of the two spouses is no longer able to get into a legal contract anymore. So even if the children agreed to cooperate with the parents for tax reasons to give it back to the parents, maybe one of the parents can't sign a contract anymore. And so you can't reverse that transfer. And so the most important thing is that if you're about to own real estate, that's wonderful. Congratulations. That's exciting to own it. But before you own it, you've got to think about how you want to own it and how you are going to make sure that you reduce the taxes and make sure you retain the control and make sure that you can still be okay and anticipate things in the future changing. So if you can relate to what you were just listening to and have a question about how you own real estate and are thinking about how to give it to your child, then give me a call. You can find me on my website, which is longevity.law, or click on my email address. Give me a phone call and I will be sure to guide you through the different considerations you should be thinking about before you gift your piece of real estate to your child.